Did you know that storytelling is as old as humanity itself? In fact, the earliest known stories date back over 5,000 years to ancient Sumer. Today, storytelling is more important than ever. Research shows that about 65% of people remember stories better than facts or figures. That means if you want to leave a lasting impression, mastering storytelling is key. But here's the shocking truth: most people believe they're not natural storytellers. A study found that 78% of people are afraid to share their stories in public. That fear can hold you back from connecting with others and sharing your unique voice. So, why does this matter? Great storytelling can change lives. It can inspire, educate, and entertain. Whether you want to engage an audience, sell a product, or simply share a memorable experience, storytelling is the way to do it. In this video, we'll explore 6 powerful strategies to help you become a master storyteller. From breaking free from overthinking to crafting authentic emotions, we'll cover techniques that even seasoned storytellers may overlook. Get ready to discover how to transform your storytelling skills and captivate any audience. Remember, you won't become a master storyteller overnight, but with these insights, you'll be well on your way. Let's dive in. Chapter 1. The Art of Unlearning. Break free from overthinking. Most of us are taught from a young age to follow the rules, even when it comes to storytelling. We're told there's a right way to tell a story. But here's the truth: the best stories often come from breaking the rules, not following them. Unlearning is just as important as learning. A 2018 study published in Cognitive Psychology found that creativity increases by 30% when people let go of rigid thinking. When you overthink every plot point or character detail, your story loses its flow. Think about authors like Haruki Murakami. His novels don't always follow conventional storytelling structures, yet they capture readers' imaginations. He once said, "The best way to learn to write is to write, just not with the intention of teaching others a lesson." Murakami's approach shows that overthinking ruins the magic of storytelling. To avoid this, try this exercise. Set a timer for 10 minutes and write anything that comes to mind. No edits, no filters. Let the words flow, and don't worry about grammar or structure. This practice helps you break free from perfectionism, allowing creativity to thrive. Chapter 2. The Power of Imperfect Stories. Why raw beats perfect. Too many people get caught up in the idea that a story has to be flawless to be good. But perfection is an illusion. The stories that really stick with us are often raw, emotional, and yes, imperfect. Think of the viral video, "It's not about the nail." It's a short, imperfect story that resonates because it's relatable. The video has been viewed over 21 million times on YouTube. Why? Because it taps into a real human experience, and that makes it powerful. Data backs this up too. Studies show that 63% of people are more likely to connect with a story that feels real rather than one that feels too polished. In fact, people are drawn to the authenticity in stories that reflect true, messy life experiences. This doesn't mean you should neglect editing. But it does mean you should let your raw ideas breathe before trying to polish them. As best-selling author Anne Lamott wrote in Bird by Bird, almost all good writing begins with terrible first efforts. Let your first draft be messy. Give yourself permission to write something that's not perfect. You can always come back to refine it, but never let perfectionism stop you from getting started. Chapter 3. Storytelling in the Margins. How to find hidden narratives. The best storytellers know how to find stories where others don't even think to look. These hidden narratives exist in everyday life, in the moments most people overlook. According to a study by Harvard Business Review, people who practice observational storytelling, the ability to find small but meaningful moments, are 40% more likely to create emotionally resonant stories. Take author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, for example. Her book Half of a Yellow Sun doesn't just tell the story of war. It tells the story of people living through it, focusing on small, intimate moments. These are the narratives that make her work powerful. So how do you train yourself to see these hidden stories? Start by paying attention to the mundane. The next time you're at a coffee shop, take notice of the interactions around you. The way the barista and the customer exchange smiles. Or the quiet tension between two people sitting at a table, saying nothing. These moments are stories waiting to be told. Here's a fun fact. Pixar, one of the world's best storytelling studios, has a rule that every story should have two levels, the surface story and the underlying emotional arc. Often, it's the subtle, underlying narrative that hits the hardest. To practice this, try writing a short story based on a single, everyday event. Focus not on the action, but on the emotions and small details. This exercise will train you to find the hidden layers that turn ordinary moments into unforgettable stories. If you're enjoying these insights, make sure to subscribe for more tips on becoming a master storyteller. Chapter 4, The Emotion Engine. Fuel your stories with feeling. If you want to create stories that people remember, you need to make them feel something. Emotion is the fuel that powers every great story. Psychologists have found that people are 22 times more likely to remember a fact if it's wrapped in a story that stirs emotion. Why? Because emotions engage the brain in ways facts alone never can. Stories that evoke joy, sadness, fear, or surprise activate the amygdala, the brain's emotional center, creating a deeper memory link. Brené Brown, in her book Daring Greatly, says, "Stories are just data with a soul." She's right. Data points by themselves might be dry, but when combined with emotion, they come alive. So, how can you tap into the emotional core of your stories? Start by asking yourself, what do I want my audience to feel? Whether it's hope, excitement, or empathy, focus on creating that emotional connection. One useful tip is to use sensory details. Instead of saying, "She was sad," show her wiping away a tear or her hands trembling as she holds a letter. These little details make emotions tangible, and that's what pulls readers or listeners into your world. As Maya Angelou famously said, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made him feel." Chapter 5, Dialogue as a Dance. Crafting conversations that captivate. When we think about storytelling, we often focus on plot or characters, but dialogue is where stories come alive. It's through conversations that characters reveal their true selves. Interestingly, a study published in the Journal of Narrative Theory found that 70% of what we learn about a character comes from how they speak, not just what they say. The rhythm, the pauses, the subtext, these are all as important as the words themselves. Dialogue is more than just words exchanged, it's a dance. Take Aaron Sorkin's The Social Network, for example. The film's rapid-fire dialogue builds tension and reveals the characters' ambitions, insecurities, and motivations. Great dialogue, like Sorkin's, isn't just about sounding clever, it's about moving the story forward and deepening the audience's connection to the characters. Here's a trick for crafting better dialogue: try reading it out loud. If it sounds too formal or stiff, rework it until it feels natural. Real conversations are messy, people interrupt, trail off, and change the subject. Allow your characters to do the same. Also, don't forget about what's left unsaid. Silence or short, clipped responses can be just as revealing as long speeches. Think of dialogue as music. There are notes, but there's also space between them. Chapter 6, Mastering the Slow Burn. Why patience is a storyteller's secret weapon. In today's fast-paced world, people often feel the need to rush everything, including storytelling. But if you want to create a story that sticks, sometimes the best strategy is to slow down. Research by Princeton University found that stories that build gradually tend to create more lasting impressions than those that deliver immediate gratification. This technique, known as the slow burn, allows for tension, mystery, and emotional depth to develop over time. Think of novels like The Road by Cormac McCarthy or TV shows like Breaking Bad. Their slow, deliberate pacing keeps audiences on edge, making the payoff all the more satisfying. Mastering the slow burn requires patience and trust in your story. You need to give your characters room to grow and your plot time to develop naturally. A common mistake new storytellers make is trying to rush to the climax, but this can strip your story of its emotional impact. A good exercise for practicing this is to write a scene where the real action happens at the end, but you stretch the build-up as long as possible. Let tension simmer beneath the surface, whether it's a conversation that's growing awkward or a secret that's on the verge of being revealed. As Alfred Hitchcock famously said, there is no terror in the bang, only in the anticipation of it. By letting your audience anticipate what's coming, you create suspense that makes the final moment even more impactful. If you found these strategies helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more tips and tricks on mastering storytelling.